It was late in the spring of 1993 when I first began my love affair. That is, with Silver City in New Mexico. I was a rosy-cheeked geology undergraduate student at the University of Houston, and to satisfy the requirements of my degree, enrolled in a field geology course where for the next 6 weeks I'd complete an intense remote mapping project in the Gila National Forest, accompanied by University of Houston faculty and a cadre of fellow students. We pulled into our lodgings at WNMU, staying at what was then the newest dormitory perched atop a hill. For all practical purposes, this was our new transplanted home. For me, it was a welcomed escape from my urban setting in Houston. Dorm room windows open. There were occasions when we could even hear the sounds of a local music festival, dancing up on the breeze to our hilltop perch, instead of the usual hum of air conditioning and the cacophony of car horns and droning engines. Our geologic mapping areas were off Bear Mountain Road in the Gila and squarely in the midst of the Silver City Range. The stunning views reinforced the remote and spacious feel of the country. It was wild, difficult to maintain your bearings in the immense forest. Wildlife abounded, a mix of tough creatures adapted for high desert living and contrasting examples of the free and delicate. The forest entry signs warned of the dangers of fire in this parched country, as well as possible hiking encounters with wildlife and feral Scottish Highland cattle with a fiercely territorial temperament. Our first practice map was out on Homer White's ranch. At times on the commute, I thought we would be stranded in our university van, appended on a boulder somewhere down the rough Cane Springs Arroyo, which pushed the limits of a navigable vehicular path. Once released at the White Ranch destination, a somewhat tortuous hike remained. Guidance was given on how to return to the vans with a series of lefts and rights, windmill landmarks, and a topographic map backdrop. I asked, "What happens if we make a wrong turn?" "Don't worry," said the professor. "You'll come out somewhere on Ellis Mesa and we will eventually find you there." This was not exactly a comforting thought in a time before the widespread use of cellular phones and GPS units. The thought of the remoteness of Ellis Mesa and the seeming infinite stretch of dirt road heightened my sense of needing to always be oriented in this expansive space. We got one day off per week to catch up on laundry and work on drafting our maps. As students ever seeking chore and study diversions, we explored downtown, craving a respite from dorm cuisine, becoming regulars at the Jalisco Mexican Cafe for green chili enchiladas. We sought sturdy boots and hiking gear replacements at the Gila Hike and Bike, realizing that discount store boots from Houston could not handle the punishment of this terrain. Far less regularly, we enjoyed a refreshment or two at the downtown Buffalo Bar. For an occasional evening adventure, the historic Buckhorn Saloon in Pinos Altos offered a dinner experience like no other, providing a background setting akin to a Wild West movie. At night, there was also time for me to discover Aldo Leopold's Sand County Almanac, in which the Gila Forest plays a leading role. The thought-provoking book was a second-hand bookstore gift from one of my professors. On occasion, we were granted a short field trip to an active copper mine and collected a few almost otherworldly rocks that were unlike anything we had seen. For the Houstonian, this was a man-made Grand Canyon, a deep chasm excavated at the feet of a local landmark known as the Kneeling Nun, at a scale that I had truly never imagined. Over time, the mapping projects became successively more difficult and even more remote. Some days, the objective was a traverse on the order of 5 miles round trip, observing and mapping geologic formations en route to a geologically complicated location called Treasure Mountain. Along the way, these urban explorers even discovered long abandoned mines as part of the adventure, where brilliant green fluorite crystals lay hidden like treasure amongst the discarded tailings heaps and offered a pleasant distraction. It was at Treasure Mountain that my mapping partner and I first encountered a bear after rounding a large boulder. Fortunately, the bear bolted up the hillside, as afraid of us as we were of it. Another geologic traverse required a difficult hike up to the top of Bear Mountain, where there was no awaiting mapping epiphany, but it provided a rather oddly wondrous and captivating natural ladybug paradise. There was always a romance finding yourself hiking along the Continental Divide Trail in the shadows of Bear Mountain, a welcomed sight after at times swimming through brush in the back country. It served as a beacon to assist with map orientation. In reflection, I realized the trail parted our continent, a rocky Rubicon snaking across the countryside. Near the McComas Trail, I can still remember the sound of the wind rushing through the pine and juniper stands and the sweet smell of aromatic evergreens on the breeze. The mapping work was intense but ultimately rewarding. I'm embarrassed to say that we had a teen calendar in the dorm on which we marked off each successive day with a broad-tipped black marker until our liberation. I've spent most of the following 30-plus years trying to map my return.